and final tutorial I'm going to go through today. You're going to need to get a resource of iSight, which is the boxes resource. It's just called boxes.jpg. And you're going to need a video clip off Pexels. Now, this just in the first instance will work better with a pretty static shot, but you can play about and get shots that are moving. I've got this shot of this kind of reach truck here moving logs around. It's 4K, which I don't need to work in 4K, and I don't think my computer can really handle it whilst I'm screen recording anyway. So I'm just going to check the frame rate of the clip. Let's have a little look through here, and the frame rate is 24. If you can't see that, by the way, it's because you're in icon view, so just click the little button down there that says list view. So 24 frames a second. So I'm going to make a new sequence, digital SLR, 1080p, 24 frames a second, and I'm going to drop the video clip into it. And I'm going to keep existing settings, and I'm just going to scale the clip back just so I can get an idea of what I'm looking at. And the second clip I need is these boxes, which is just a still image, which, like I say, is up on iSight, and that's going to look incredibly zoomed in because that's like 5.5K or something ridiculous. I'm just going to put it. I'm actually going to make it smaller than the canvas is because what I really want to do is I want to look at the shapes and sizes of the boxes. And I'm going to drop the opacity a bit down to maybe 50. Yeah, it's going to be difficult to see. Let's try 65. 70. I kind of want to be able to see the boxes and the video clip. What I'm going to try to do is take this video clip that's in the background and start to actually piece it onto these boxes. So I'm going to start, in fact, let's just to make it easier, let's put the video clip on top. I'm going to start with this, let's move it so you can see the bit I'm pointing to. Video clip over there. I'm going to start with this panel here. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the video bigger than the panel to start with. And then I'm going to drop the opacity out of the video just because I want to be able to see that box underneath it. I need to, the most important thing that I'm looking for is the angle of the top of the video follows the same angle as the box. What I need to do is I need to rotate it. Now within your effect controls you've got rotation settings, but that's just going to spin it around the anchor point. That's no use at all. What we really need to do is we need to rotate it on the Z axis. Now if we're using After Effects we could click the 3D button and then rotate it on the Z axis. We don't have a 3D button in Premiere, but we do have some 3D effects under the perspective menu. So let's just load up perspective, and I'm looking today at basic 3D. I'm going to drop that onto the clip. I'm going to scroll down here in my effects window, and you can see that I now have swivel control and I have tilt control. So let's set them both to 0. Let's put my background layer opacity back up so that we can really see it. And in fact, let's put the foreground opacity up as well. Let's just move our video slightly out of the way of the box. Because what we need to do is we need to look at the angle of this box and we need to look at the tilt of the box. So let's start going through and just adjusting it little by little. Let's try this swivel. So just clicking and dragging. So do you see the way that the mouse pointer changes into that hand and it just lets you rotate it a little? Okay, I'm just going to try it there and I'm going to move it. I'm just looking to see if I can match the diagonal line that's underneath that's being created by the video clip. I need to match that diagonal with the face of the box. Oh, I just changed the blend mode completely accidentally. A little bit more. Yeah, that looks pretty good to me. It also looks like it looks like my video clip is tilting backwards. So it's just so the line that I'm now looking at is the vertical line on the box. Like I'm happy with the horizontal line. I'm happy that that lines up, but does the vertical line up? And nearly, like within like a degree maybe. Let's try that side. No, sorry, that needs to be over here. Not quite, so let's just tweak it a little bit more. That's the wrong way, James. We were at 9. Well, know when you kind of know when you go too far. It's about there. That looks kind of good to me. Okay, and then what I need to do is I need to make it bigger than the box, bigger than the area. So let's just scale it to say 28. That's good. And then this is where it gets a little bit trickier. I'm going to turn the layer off. I'm going to go into opacity. I'm going to click my pen tool. And even though the layer is turned off, it's still going to be affected in exactly the same way. So I'm just now leaning forward and concentrating. I'm making my mask, which is that shape there. I'm taking the feather off it, and then I'm going to turn my video layer back on, and the video layer will then be on the box. Hey, that's not bad, that. Let's get back to the start. And let's, I mean, whether it'll play or not. Yeah, it kind of plays. There we go. Kind of cool, right? Now the next bit is to then map it all the way around. So although I've got my mask and I'm happy with it, I'm not overly happy with the video because I want it to take on this entire box. I'm not going to have it take on anything else, just this box in particular. So I'm going to do the next bit as a time lapse, and I'll come back to you a little bit later on. So ignore any of my statements from now. Okay, yeah, that's not bad. What I actually want it to do, though, really, is I want it to wrap around the box. So although I've made my mask, I'm going to delete the mask, and I'm going to scale the image up so it's bigger, so it fills the whole area. Then I'm going to duplicate it 2 more times so that I can have a piece that will go on each side, and then we'll work out the rotation and the scaling accordingly. So let's start by deleting the mask. Let's scale it up to be significantly bigger. Could do with turning it on and off because I want to know exactly where parts of it are. Let's just move that over a little bit. We know that the angle and the position of this is fine for the first one, so let's just duplicate it 1, 2, 3, and then I'm just going to go through on each of these, and I'm going to put the swivel and the tilt back to 0. I'm going to turn them off in a second, and you'll see why. So let's turn those off. The bottom one we know is right. So let's turn the bottom one off. Let's use our pen tool again to once again make that mask, and we need it to be pretty precise. We can go in afterwards and tweak it. So there's our mask for the first one. Let's take the feather off because we don't want any blending. So we know that that one works. Okay, I'm going to turn it off because otherwise it's just going to get in the way. Let's turn the second one on. What we now need to do with this one, just like the last one, is I'm going to use this for the right panel of the box, and I need to swivel it and I need to tilt it to get it just right. Let's put that back to normal. Scrolling without selecting anything. So let's swivel it and get that diagonal angle right for the box. Move my motion now to take it over to the box. No, see, it looked pretty good, didn't it, to start with, but it's not there yet. Okay, I'm happy with that. What about the vertical lines? Are we happy with the vertical lines? I think it needs to tilt backwards a little bit. Not much, but just a bit. Let's have a little look at that along the side. Yeah, it's a bit more than that, isn't it? Look. That's too much, James. Come back a bit, come back a bit, come back a bit. It turns into a Chuckle Brothers affair if you're not careful. Okay, good. I'm happy with that. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to change my layer order. This layer here that's turned off we know is in the right place, so I'm just going to turn that one back on. Well, I'm going to put it on top of everything and then I'm going to turn it on. because that one is going to be my guide. Come on, stop it with the green. You can, yeah, I can see that, because what I want to do now is I want to reposition this layer, which we can move down for all it matters. Let's just make sure it's turned on. I want to reposition it now so that the wood kind of is in the right place. Yeah, and it's not going to go because it goes off the bottom of the box. Let's just nudge it over just a little bit. That'll be fine. Let's turn the layer off. We've got it selected still. Let's take our pen tool and let's just make our mask. Yeah, that's way out, but what you guys can't see is quite how much this is stuttering. And I'm sure this is going to be a problem that you guys are going to face as well, but equally, I don't think you're going to be trying to keep a commentary of what you're doing at the same time. So that's, I'm just going to delete the mask and I'm going to do it again. If you're doing this on a small screen, I'm going to advise getting as close to the screen as you can for this bit. It's better than squinting. I'm not happy with that point. Come on. There you come. Just going to mutter things under my breath. Let's turn it on and have a look. Hey, not bad actually. I mean, I'm going to go in now to like 200% if it'll let me. Get my H for hand because I need to just tidy up that point there. If you drag a handle, then it's going to start to put a bezier on it, and I don't really want a bezier. I just want to drag the point down. Thank you. And while we're in close, and I'm leaning really far forwards, I might as well tidy up the mask on this one as well. Bring that all the way down. Come on, down you come. For anybody that doesn't talk to the software while you're trying to do this, I'd strongly advise it. I think it's quite a therapeutic way of working. We're nearly there anyway. So that's how we're doing it. And then the last one that we've got to do, let's put this back to fit, is the top piece. So that'll be the one layer that's turned off. So let's turn that on now. And then let's turn the others off momentarily. In fact, we can move everything down a layer because I've stacked them and stacked them a bit high. So we're on the middle layer, I'm pretty sure. Let's just turn it off and make sure. And we need to swivel and rotate this one to sit on the top of the box. That's mostly going to be tilted. It's not going to be tilting that way, James. It's going to be tilting that way. That's pretty good. Let's bring the motion of it. Let's click on that. Come on. Come on. What you guys can't see is quite how much my computer's freezing momentarily, but that's okay. So let's drop it on top. Let's swivel it round with rotation, with a swivel. What I want to do now is just move it far enough that I can see and check the angles. Yeah, that's not bad. That's pretty close. I'm going to turn off the other layers so I can see exactly what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm kind of happy with that. I'm not happy with the tilt. The tilt's way out, but the swivel's bob on. Okay, so I'm now happy with the tilt, but I'm no longer happy with the swivel because the tilt has affected the swivel. So let's come around a bit more. There we go. That's pretty good. Now this one is the middle layer, and it really wants to be just like kind of like the top part of the clip. Oh, you see, it looked so good, didn't it, for a little while? Forgot quite how impactful getting it wrong was. Like not necessarily getting it wrong, but it's so difficult at times to get the swivel and tilt just right because it kind of skews itself, as I'm sure you can see. So it's like this side is too high, and for anybody that knows Photoshop pretty well, you'd want to use like a puppet warp, but you can do like a distance to image and separate that a little bit. But I'm gonna go with this for now. I'm happy enough with it. I'm going to turn off the layer. I'm going to get my pen tool on the opacity, and I'm just going to go and click the remaining points of this box. Let's join that up. Let's turn the layer back on. Let's turn that layer on. Let's turn that layer on. Okay. And I should have probably checked my blending mode before I started it. Nope. It might just be a drop in the opacity. Yeah, that's because what I want to do is just let a bit of texture from that box through. I'm not the best at remembering what all the blend modes do. Like I've got a pretty good idea that the lighten modes let colours through the lighter areas, and the darken mode lets colours through the darker area. I'm just going to generally drop the overall opacities down a little bit just to let some of that box through, just to give it a bit of a sense that it's being projected. And yeah, that's what we're creating today, except for you guys, and I'm not going to make you watch me do all of this because, good lord, I'm sure by this point you're fed up of my ramblings. I want you to do all the boxes. So at that point you're going to have to start stacking layers. Now what I'd strongly advise is if you select your layers like this, we've done one box, right click on it and choose nest. And it'll ask you what you want to call your nest, so I'm going to call that foreground box. And then it drops it onto one layer, and it also drops it into its own sequence. So you can just see it in a sequence all on its own with nothing behind it. And then I'll come back to the sequence with the boxes on, it'll refresh eventually. What that means is like I can turn the layer off and then I can go and focus on doing this box here. And it doesn't matter if your video on this background panel here spills, you know, behind this box. It's probably a good thing, in fact, if you do that, because when you turn that layer on, you'll just drag that on top of the other nest. And as long as your layer stacking is correct, then it'll work just fine. I'm very aware that this is going to stutter if I try and play it. So again, it's not bad. I'll just drop an export at the end of this video. And good luck, enjoy.